Hello, welcome back to Liticast. Thank you for joining us. If you've come to us via our website or YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook or however you got here, we're happy you're here. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode. Very excited about our guest today and our topic. We've worked quite hard, our collective teams, both Robert and myself, the Litify-Assure team, at putting together an integration for SSD firms. We're really excited to talk about it, but first, let me introduce Robert Higgins. Pardon me, Robert. Thanks so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Terry, for having me.
So, please, my pleasure. But Robert is a Texas Tech guy. Graduated. He's been practicing law in Fort Worth for about 20 years now with his own firm. And then in 2012, Robert launched Assure Disability, really recognizing that there was a need from a technology standpoint and a sort of collective information standpoint to help those kinds of firms. So maybe we'll start there, Robert. Just give us a little background on why you started Assure, kind of some details on that.
Sure. When we started our law practice, we got into the Social Security disability business in 2006. I had been primarily a bankruptcy attorney before then. And we were buying traditional advertising as well as internet-driven leads, and we found ourselves opening a lot of cases in jurisdictions that were not close to us. And so we found that parachuting someone in from Texas into another jurisdiction and having them try that case oftentimes did not result in the best result for our client. But it was better if we could find someone local to help us handle those hearings. And so we started Assure Disability, where we would help firms who had claimants in jurisdictions other than where they lived to find a lawyer to help cover those things. As an extension of that, we stumbled into, honestly, Terry, an embarrassment of riches. And one of those was Atlasware. Another one was our relationship with you guys. And so Assure was started with the primary goal of helping attorneys cover their Social Security disability hearings, but secondarily, and now it has become really a primary concern is the other business intelligence and services that we've been able to offer those Assure Disability customers.
It's fantastic. It's neat. It's neat to hear how a very simple idea has sort of expanded and providing additional value for your clients. It almost sounds like maybe that wasn't the original intent, but as things sort of evolved and you started realizing like, hey, this is, we have momentum here and we have the ability to even further, sort of disseminate information out, share best practices, utilize, these different mechanisms, be it technology, be it best practices, whatever it is, to sort of, the term is obviously rising tide lifting all boats, but it's great to hear that you're able to, kind of capitalize on that and do a great service for your clients.
One of the things that's been important in our integration with you guys is the delivery of really great information so that your attorney knows where his client is in the process, has easy access to the ERE files, has them in a format that they're easy to sort of look at and manage. The integration with Litify mostly takes advantage of the service line that Assure Disability offers called Atlasware. Mm-hmm. We were fortunate enough to buy the company Atlasware a few years ago from a couple of great lawyers down in Texas. But at the time, it was a desktop application, meaning that you had the program was on your desktop, and if you didn't access the program from your desktop, you didn't have access to it. Well, the world is changing all the time, and that's one of the real market advantages that Litify has against the other CRMs out there in the country, is that it's web-based. So Atlasware, we took that product and converted it from a desktop application to a web application. So the listeners out there, the viewers, have probably heard Atlasware Cloud, and that is the migration of all the desktop users into a cloud-based environment. Atlasware is this. We help the attorney in one click access the ERE, pull down that file using optical character recognition software, OCR that file, which basically turns an image, a PDF, into a Word document, or at least a searchable document. It indexes those pages, it paginates them, and puts them in a package and delivered to the attorney in a really, really clever way, so that in the middle of a hearing, say, they can go in there and the judge asks them a question about a particular doctor. They can keyword search that doctor, and the documents instantly pull up, literally instantly pull up, rather than having to scroll through maybe a 1,500-page medical record. So the Atlasware product allows the access to the ERE, the indexing, OCRing, and paginating of every file, including and in real time when those files update with new medical records. But in addition to that, it takes the individual firm's status report and begins to display some business intelligence for them on your site, also on our site, but through our integration on your site. They'll be able to see the status of every one of those cases once it goes to the hearing level. And the administration says that state agency level cases will be added to the ERE at the end of October. So currently it's just hearing level cases, but soon it'll be all cases. You can see every status from hearing set to hearing scheduled to open, closed, favorable, unfavorable, everything from document assembly to assigning an attorney, and to be able to display that information of someone's entire portfolio in an instant, move on to Litify as a software, and not have to do a mass migration of data and of information from every claimant. It's pretty astonishing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, we use the term swivel chair quite a bit because I think, particularly in legal technology, there's been a lot of that swivel chairing that has to happen where you're migrating, you're moving data, you have to go to two different places to accomplish one thing. And you touched a little bit on sort of where Atlasware is going and what's coming. Where else do you see that evolution for Atlasware in the future here?
So the functionality that I just mentioned all currently exists. And I know that you guys on y'all side are adding in each of these endpoints in very rapid succession. Where Atlasware is going now is we're utilizing quite a bit of machine learning, some plain language understanding, where certain documents inside the file, once they've been OCR'd, we're teaching the computer how to identify what that is. Is this a notice of hearing? Is this a consultative exam? Are these lab results, right? And then be able to break those documents apart and begin to form the legal arguments in a brief, right? It's pretty easy to populate a brief with the name of the claimant, the sex, the judge, the jurisdiction, the time, the place. But what you want to start doing is you want to be able to accumulate a comprehensive comprehensive prescription drug list for a brief. You want to be able for the computer to know that a Chavez argument needs to be made in this particular brief. And so we have a brief tool currently. We're on the second iteration, but we're about to launch the third iteration that will take that process and not just begin to populate forms, but begin to actually do some of the legal writing based on artifacts inside the case relative to any person's particular ailment, right? Particular disability. So that's where Atlasware is going. It's gonna create a new and smarter version of the brief tool. But most importantly, when the federal government adds state agency level stuff into the ERE, someone will be able to go on to Litify from whatever CRM they're currently using, deploy their Atlasware tool, and in an instant have every case that's represented in their entire firm, every document moved over without anybody really having to do anything. It's an astonishing thing because we've moved from CRM to CRM, and it's very, very challenging.
Yep. Yeah, it's fine. I'm chuckling a little bit inside here because on every Liticast episode, Robert, I always say, sort of this personal thing I have where I was like, I'm not going to try to openly plug Litify. And I'm not going to talk about COVID, but I inevitably get to those two things. And with this conversation, it's very hard for me not to openly plug Litify because when you're talking and the way that you're thinking about, sort of this evolution and what's to come, like it's no surprise to me as to why our teams clicked so well, because we're not just talking about sort of practice in my side, kind of practice management technology. It's really about business transformation. It's really
right.
sort of, what is it, the Wayne Gretzky going where the puck, skate to where the puck is going kind of thing. And it's about having that intelligence sitting in front of you. So, two things. One, it's a competitive advantage for your firm. And two, it's really a better client experience. Because you're not having to, you can have real-time communication with the clients. You can give them updates. You can, kind of work the case in a unified way, the best way, every single time. And a lot of that really comes down to this information flow and, and as things evolve on and the other entities of the world, holding that into, what we are offering together is super important. So, and again, like the idea that it's on a cloud-based platform that evolves as your business evolves, and it's not real heavy lifting in terms of code and change and behavioral change. It's really just kind of plugging these pieces in as they become available. It is extremely powerful. So,
well, you sort of touched on something through natural language processing and machine learning. You're really able to identify mail that the administration sticks in the claimant's file, and then begin to key not tasks off those things, but actually ask the computer to go ahead and do work. When they identify this document, get this piece of mail out to my client. And so the idea behind looking at a dashboard, or really looking at software that currently exists, where they're giving you a task list of things that you have to do and accomplish every day. Wouldn't it be really great to come in and look at your dashboard and it shows you all the things it did for you, right? Yeah. In the best and the smartest way. Let me mention one other thing too. I know that there is a feeling out there in the world that things being online have a difficulty as it relates to cybersecurity. I always want to touch on this because it's super duper important.
Sure.
The most common way someone has a breach of their cybersecurity is not that they crack into it from the internet. It's that they are operating in a desktop application like Atlasware used to be, and they leave their laptop in their car. Even this latest breach of the big credit reporting agency. That was the infiltration of an individual desktop. The truth is, the web is far more secure. Our company, and I imagine yours is too, is SOC 2 Type 2 certified. We have pen testing of the website. We have a level of security at AWS, honestly, that only the highest levels of the government have, because we process so many documents. And so as people migrate from their desktop CRM onto something like Litify, or their desktop Atlasware onto the Atlasware cloud, they should rest assured that they're actually becoming more cyber secure rather than less, because the vast majority of breaches happen through somebody infiltrating an individual desktop and not the web.
Right. I hear less and less of these debates going forward. Like, certainly looking backwards, I used to have a lot of debates with individual IT folks, particularly at law firms, where they would say, we need to keep this on premise because it's more secure. And I would kind of bang my head against the wall and say, and you're on AWS, we have components of our service on AWS. We're primarily on Salesforce, which is, top security. They literally
top security.
Yeah, you'd rather have hundreds of engineers thinking about this every single day from a security perspective versus the IT guy in the closet down the hall. And I don't mean to be offensive, but it's not even a comparison. It's just from a pure security perspective, it's literally night and day. So I don't.
Well, and if you think about what COVID has done to us, right, where everyone has to work at home, there are lots of people who have laptops, but I imagine that laptop sales were off the hook, right? When people had to move their desktop applications to laptops so they could take it home. When you're operating in a cloud environment, with the right credentials, you'll be able to access your work from home or the car or the airport or wherever you're at, anytime and all the time. Right. It is a better mousetrap.
Sure. You mentioned something before about a dashboard, and I'm going to share my screen now. Hang on one sec, just to show you. This is a dashboard for that we've built, and it's just sort of an example of the Assure Litify integration. So just wanted to share for our listeners. So basically, if you just look at this, it's as Robert mentioned, sort of coming in the morning or whenever and opening up a dash and understanding at a high level where your business is. And this could be tailored to really anybody at the firm. So it could be, anybody from an intake specialist to a paralegal to a managing partner. What is your world look like right now as it relates to hearings, as it relates to claims, the status of these claims, what's upcoming, what your calendar looks like, the task lists you see here on the right. This is a phenomenal way to just get a snapshot of your business and understand what needs to be addressed, what needs more focus, what needs more resource, where you might be behind on things. Are you tracking to metrics and baseline metrics that you put together? Just a really, really tremendous, view of it. So, and then like any Litify report and dashboard, this is customizable. So you can, again, like I said, if there's different things you want to see, you basically add, and it's not real heavy coding that's involved here. It's just really drag and drop to see the information that's needed. So this really is, sort of the future of law. Not to sound, cliche, but it really is, and managing at this level. I don't know, anything jump out of here on this dash, Robert, you want to maybe touch on?
I think the dashboard's great. I'm hoping that as we move through time, one of the things that we're incorporating with Litify-Assure has an opportunity to do medical records ordering, where once those you would go in and you would place your order, whether it's with a medical record provider or one of these or an individual, say hospital or clinic. Mm-hmm. When the documents get returned, they're returned into the Assure portal. The portal will take those documents, will look at your ERE file, will make sure there are no duplicates. We'll then upload those to the ERE. We'll send you back confirmation through a receipt of that upload, and then turn around and generate a brand new ERE, paginated, OCR'd, and indexed into your file so that you have the most current copy. And so, medical records is one of these things that has been very difficult as COVID has come through, because the little old person sitting in the basement at your local clinic who would go make those copies and get them out. Well, that person's generally not working, right? Right. And if you can't get those documents timely, get them in the ERE timely, and now that the judges don't have you in front of them, they've become, in our opinion, less tolerant of seeing a whole big bunch of duplicates. Medical records and getting those ordered and getting them produced timely has been very, very challenging during COVID, and Assure's worked hard to address that. And I know that Litify, through this integration, is carrying some of that burden with us.
Yep. Let me pause for a moment. So I do see one question, and as always, folks, if you have questions, please put them in. We'll address them as we can here. But Sean from Louisiana is asking. You touched on a bit of this, Robert, but he's asking about business intelligence results, intelligence that Assure is providing for their clients. Maybe just give a little more, maybe a few more examples of what you guys are doing there.
Sure. So we would never provide business intelligence to any firm as it relates to any other firm's clients. I mean, that wouldn't exist. But for an individual firm, what we can do for you is really anything you want. We can slice and dice the information that's produced in your status report in a dozen clever ways, from the amount of time from the hearing going to the hearing level. I mean, the case going to the hearing level until it's actually heard, the win-loss percentage by rep, the favorable to unfavorable as it relates to Title 16 and Title 2. Because the information is so cleverly gotten, any series of customizable reports as it relates to someone's individual information, we can turn out for them very quickly. And so we represent right now, I think, just north of 1,000 firms. And some of those want a tremendous amount of feedback from us. Others don't really want much of anything. So we've actually built sort of a canned set of customizable reports on the Assure portal that we're sharing with Litify that can be accessed at any time by any firm. That's great.
I want to rewind just a little bit, and if you'll indulge me for a minute, because I can nerd out on Salesforce stuff all day long. But sure. One of the reasons that we built, and it's the technology side of it, but it's also the approach. And you touched on medical record retrieval. We're touching on different types of portals, different types of information that's available. The reason we did build this way is it's intentionally an open architecture, not from a security standpoint, but from an information standpoint and a functionality standpoint. We want our clients to be able to go into the Litify CRM home, I call it home base, you're kind of in home base, and you're going to be able to pull these different functions. We do have some medical record retrievals, which, as you said it, I'm like, I need to connect Robert with the pond guys and have this discussion, because the easier that you can basically get these functions into the same place and not do that swivel chair that we're talking about, that is time, that is efficiency, that is helping grow, that is business transformation. That is beyond just a technology, a system or whatever product. That is really kind of being able to unleash the power of your employees and have them focus on what's really going to drive the business and the firm and provide that best level of customer experience, because you don't have to do those different steps in the process.
Well, a platform like Salesforce is so well engineered for that specific purpose. You're looking to pull down pieces of information and build custom reports. There is no platform that's better. Salesforce is really pretty amazing at that. Even though Assure is not on, I mean, we've connected with you guys, and you guys are on a Salesforce platform. Assure has its own individual portal. Salesforce, in a vacuum or not, is amazing at its really elastic ability to create your own personal experience.
Huge fanboy right here. So, admittedly, I wanted to share one other quick thing, and then we'll move on. Christine, you could help me. Christine, our behind the scenes marketing extraordinaire. I just wanted to pull up. This is this is really what the imported information from Assure into Litify looks like. So this is all the data. This is the information from the hearings, from the ERE that Robert mentioned, status, documents. All this stuff is going to live in this space. So, really giving you, again, in that one location and related to your actual matter, related to your case. So this is all intertwined, and you can collaborate on this. You can export documents from here. So this is all very, very function-based system, but I just wanted to share this. And Robert, if you want to point out anything here or talk to it, we can certainly spend a little bit of time.
No, just this this layout, the UI UX of Salesforce generally and Litify specifically is pretty great. There are going to be pieces of information that an attorney may or may not care about as they move through the process. I mean, there's really not lots of value, say, in knowing that your ERE is in folder assembly. However, there is likely a tremendous amount of importance to understand whether or not the claimant has been able to actually attend their consultative exam. Right. And so as we together flesh out which of the indices are the most probative for the lawyer, it is really like having the cream come to the top, getting a thicker and thicker stock of the things you carry. And you said it. What this does is this unleashes the power of your employees. You think about only having people in a firm do the things that they should do. You don't want a $25 an hour paralegal doing $8 an hour clerical work. Right. One of the things that computers are amazing at, and honestly, they're going to take over the world in this way, is they are going to create situations where the only work that has to be done is skilled labor. And so you want your skilled labor, as it relates to how much you're paying them, to be doing skilled labor inside your software. And so, like I said, as these dashboards and as these pages get more and more refined, you're going to find the instances where you walk in and your $25 an hour paralegal's opening the mail. Those situations are going to go way, way down.
Yep. If you listen to Elon Musk, we're only a few years away from, Terminator.
If you listen to Robert Higgins, we're only a few years away.
Yeah, you're right. You listen to any of us, really. It's really quite remarkable. But, Skynet and the Terminator and Singularity and all this stuff is all upon us. But, sure. Yeah, very interesting stuff. So let me stop sharing that. But, the idea here, again, just actually before I stop sharing, you see Doc Rio here. That, for those unfamiliar, that is Litify's custom-built document management solution. So, the great thing there is putting templates in there, managing it like traditional document management solutions, but also automating it. Robert, you mentioned in passing before, you get a status that changes within the Litify system. It automatically kicks off a letter to be sent to your client, sent to an insurance adjuster, whatever it may be. And that level of automation too is something that our clients are embracing. And I'll be the first to admit, when we first launched the DocRio project in terms of document management embedded within Salesforce and Litify, I looked at the cost and I looked at the number of engineers who were involved, and I scratched my head. But thank God I was proven wrong with the investment there, because functionality, specifically for this, is tremendous. People can really, really save a lot of time and get a lot of function out of that.
So I have sort of an interesting observation. When I was a kid, I grew up on a farm up in the panhandle of Texas, and the county we grew up in had about 150 dryland cotton farmers, farming somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 280,000 dryland cotton acres.
Wow.
That same number of acreage is being farmed today, 16 farmers, turning out a higher quality product on 1/10 as many people. What technology has allowed them to do, whether it's cotton seed that is now pest resistant and drought resistant, technology has allowed you to do more work and better work on less people. And things like Salesforce and Litify and Assure is a quantum leap forward. In the last 8 years, we have covered for attorneys with local counsel, which gives them at least a 2 to 3% higher win rate, 300,000 hearings.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that stat. I honestly didn't. That's great.
And you think about the wear and tear that doesn't put on firms to send their people parachuting around the country to handle hearings in different time zones and overnight and being away from their families. It's astonishing. It's astonishing. And I love what we're doing. Someone just commented, work smarter. That's exactly right. Work smarter.
That is 100% true. And not to be grandiose about it, but literally the greenhouse effect, people not traveling and being able to do this stuff, which is a segue. I've asked all the guests I've had on the show, and I'd love your opinion on this. What, COVID, again, I try to avoid it, but I find it so interesting. What stays? Meaning, we're making these changes now. We're even seeing some court appearances go virtual on Zoom and things like that. And I had another client, John Hawkins, on, and he was like, "Think about the concept of a notary public. He's like, how stupid is this? It's a 100-year-old process where you have to be in person." He goes, "I could argue that it's probably more ripe for corruption being the way it is today versus electronic signature with tagging and things like that." But I'm curious your take on sort of what remains from either from a tech perspective or a process perspective. Let's just say we get a cure tomorrow and things go back to quote unquote normal. But what from an ease of use perspective, I guess, stays?
So it's interesting where it does hurt our core competency, hearing coverage, to be doing virtual hearings. Now firms can handle their hearings in Ketchikan, Alaska, from the comfort of their Barca Lounger in Ottumwa, Iowa.
Right.
And that cuts into the things that we do. The Social Security Administration is a Byzantine organization. They were required in 1998 under the Paperwork Elimination Act to move to electronic signatures. They had 5 years to do so. All federal agencies had 5 years, so 2003 that should have been done. It is 2020, and we only got the administration to make that change over the last 90 days. So 18 years late. One would think that they would have gotten or will get an appetite for over the telephone hearings. Some lawyers don't like that because they want the judge to be able to see their claimant, walk in the room, question them directly. That's the camp that I'm in. But there is value out there in the lasting effect of being able to do some of these hearings, particularly the ones that are not that the proof is pretty substantive over the telephone. We are pretty plugged into the administration and have been told as early as yesterday that there's going to be an extension of the telephone hearings through the month of November. Now, we all know really what that means is that they probably won't actually get back to something like in-person hearings till the first of the year. They've informed us that all of the waivers that attorneys have asked for their claimants are going to have the opportunity to be withdrawn, and if they're not, they'll be extended. So for a period of time, region by region, there will be both an opportunity to do them in person or over the telephone. But it does appear that telephone hearings won't last. Even local field offices, they're beginning to come in and build these little kiosks out of lucite to have the claimant be able to appear in person. And so, where I'm personally happy that we're going to be able to go back. I think it's a better job for my claimant. It is shocking that the government can't find its way into. Every president and every administration comes in and they say they launch a good government initiative, and that's to cut wasteful spending. It looks like this is going to fall to the wayside, and in-person hearings are going to come back. The things that are going to last, in my opinion, I think that the judges are going to begin to make more and more on the record decisions. I think that the state agency level is going to be able to determine winners and losers at a better and more accurate rate, so that we don't push things to hearings. And what I'm hoping lasts is that the result would be is that we don't actually go to hearings on any claimant except those that actually deserve and need a hearing. Right now, we find ourselves walking in, and 2 minutes later, the judge has read a favorable decision into the record, and I'm thinking, why in the heck am I in Tyler, Texas?
Right.
So I think that we're going to get some efficiencies out of this as it relates to more thoughtful decisions on wins and losses at both the state agency level and the hearing level. But sadly, I think the big gains are going to fall to the wayside because this administration, talking about Social Security Administration, has never shown itself or proven itself to be a model of efficiency, and I don't see that happening again this time, sadly.
Right. We've had some interesting debates on this webcast around just at a very basic level, the pure value of in-person, meaning sort of the pageantry and the importance that you showing up somewhere and kind of understanding what's going on like that versus the ease of remote work and things like that. And there's no right answer. It's just an interesting debate to kind of think about, like, what does it mean for our society in that sense? And then you see this thing. I was actually in Texas where the guy on the Zoom jury, the guy just left to like take a phone call or something in the middle of opening arguments. So, you got to think about the behavioral component too.
Sure.
Like, how does it matter? But yeah, it's all interesting things to think about and watch as this evolves for sure.
Well, it would be nice to see big lasting results coming from the government. I actually think that the big lasting results are going to come from the individual law firms who have decided that they're going to take the often scary step and move toward a more technological based system. You stop pushing paper around your office and you start digging into what technology can offer. The result is, and I'm convinced of this, and it's a little controversial, particularly for firms that may have done it in a certain way for a very long time. Technology is your friend. You do a better job for your client when you access all the tools that are available rather than just the traditional ones.
Yeah, I would agree for sure. I'm in technology, so it's an easy one for me to agree to. Robbie, you talked a bit about Atlas, where it was going, and even Assure to a certain extent, but give us a little more on where you see the future of Atlas. Future of Assure, pardon me.
So, assuming all things being equal, we have every confidence that we're going to go back and begin to cover hearings for non-local attorneys as soon as the administration allows that. We currently employ 3,500 attorneys around the country, so that every attorney that attends a hearing is very local. It doesn't help to have a New York or a New Jersey guy come to Texas if there's a local Texas guy who might have been in front of that judge at the hearing just before then. So
right.
So we believe we're going to move forward there.
And by the way, you definitely don't want a Jersey guy coming to Texas.
Yeah. Well, starting about the 15th or so, maybe a few days before then of April, the number of people that began to file new applications for Social Security disability has been high. And when I say high, it is astonishing. There's probably been 3 or 4 years of work put in the system in the last 4 or 5 months. The administration had been very efficient at digging through the backlog and getting cases resolved. You can throw that out the window. The number of claimants that have now joined the system is remarkable. So Assure's not going anywhere. As it relates to where we see the technology going, there's right now a mass push that we have undertaken to get the last of our desktop users onto the cloud. We see that more integrations with and more endpoints with Liticast and perhaps others that allow people to really customize their experience at their office. As our natural language processing, machine learning gets more and more sophisticated, I believe that it is possible over time to write a brief almost from end to end. There's always going to be the need for a lawyer in there for parts of it, but we've already been able to take, say, just the brief writing process and move it from a 4 or 5 hour process into a 30 or 40 minute process. We think that we can cut that in half again. And do better work and be willing to, and we've actually considered doing a demo at one of the NOSCRs where we have the brief tool write a brief and have a lawyer write a brief and have these things done in real time and then present them to the audience and have them compared side by side. Mm-hmm. We're that confident that the briefs that the brief tool could write and the machine learning is going to be that good. There are lots of things out there. There are lots of, there's always a tort du jour, right? Whether it's talc, whether it's vaginal mesh or Stryker hips. A lot of our claimants have these things in their past and their backgrounds. And what Assure has allowed is now that you've got your case and it's been OCR'd, we are currently working on a very clever tool that will allow you to go in and put in keywords and find a potential or comp or mass tort or PI claims that your claimant might have that you might not have otherwise recognized because the case file has already been OCR'd. I think that anytime you can take a claimant and give them more value and present them with more options in their lives, I think that that's really valuable. Those things are really great services, and so like anything else, technology takes time. And I remember when we first started in this endeavor, my lead developer told me, he said, half as much, half as fast. Whatever you think you're going to be able to do and accomplish, it's going to take you twice as long and it's going to be half as good. So just imagine 4 times in your mind to really get the product that you're going to really love and that's going to really benefit your client. And so it takes time, it takes energy, but we are here all day, every day, working very hard to make the integration with Litify and the Assure Disability / Atlasware product line, as helpful for the claimant as it can be.
Right. Yeah, I would, similar note from a Litify side. A lot of times there's no shortage of great ideas. It's really kind of distilling down what's going to provide that value and quickly, or as quick as possible to kind of sort of relate to your developer's comment there in my head, of course, from a revenue perspective, I'm always thinking, we could just go fast and just get this done. But you really got to be thoughtful around what does this ultimately do for our clients? What does this ultimately drive in terms of value? What is the return on this? How easily is it adopted? Are we really changing the workflow or process that someone's used to? And that might be okay. That might be, the behavioral change might be okay if it's worth it. But we really try to be comprehensive in the ways that we're thinking about this. And from the beginning, our approach has been very intentional. We don't want to go out and recreate the wheel. Specifically, what we've been talking about here, this integration. You guys are the experts in this. You understand it. You know how to drive value for your clients. I'd way rather create, the interconnection between us and have them drive value. A couple of things you mentioned there in passing, which I think are really interesting, is the AI piece of it. And I love the fact that you're talking about predictive intelligence and AI more in the context of what it will do. Because I think we often think of it as a thing, like, oh, I need me some AI. No, that's not the way it works. It's really, what is that actually going to produce for you, and think about it more from a functionality standpoint. And that really is the proper way to think about it. Because I think it's almost like, the term cloud, maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, people didn't know what it meant. Now it's like AI could be a buzzword, but it's not AI. It's what does it actually create for you? What is the value that you're getting on the other side of it?
Well, let me mention something that we discovered that is really interesting, right? And so I, at my law firm, pushed some of our files, because we represent claimants all over the country, through our predictive engine, and began to look for specific identifiers in their medical records to see if there would be anything interesting that we could divine. The first thing that we found out is it turns out there are 9 acceptable misspellings of the word ibuprofen. And so to really learn anything where it feels like a mold here, it's actually a mountain, right? It takes a tremendous amount of thinking. But we discovered, looking at some cases that Robert Higgins and Associates, because I also have a law firm and we do Social Security disability work, we found that along the coast in Florida, the Gulf Coast, from Tampa down to about Fort Myers, there are a group of doctors that are prescribing a particular medication off-label to claimants with COPD that we don't see prescribed anywhere else in the entire country to any COPD claimant. And so that is an interesting discovery that could, not just in your own business, have some probative value, but it could have some value sort of across the whole spectrum. It could be that this drug is incredibly effective, and the word just hasn't made its way out, right? And so AI is nothing to be feared. It is nothing to be shied away from. But you're right. It's what can it do for me? What can it do for my client? And how can it help me provide better service?
That is incredibly interesting. That data mining element there that produced that. Again, it could be something as simple as you have a very effective salesperson in that region who's pushing this particular drug, or like you said, the doctors are getting around. Have you guys used this? It's amazing for these particular cases, and you take that information and run with it, or try to figure out more about it. We see a lot of our clients, particularly in the mass tort space, looking for keywords, utilizing OCR technology, and understanding that, even just as simple as, car accidents, there's an inordinate amount of X type of vehicle, X year that's involved in these particular accidents. And they're going back to that and trying to see if there's a product liability case that's associated with that. And it's really just unleash where your imagination is going. Yeah. That's what we're really trying to provide.
Sure.
Excellent. So in closing here, well, first and foremost, Robert, thank you so much for coming on. I am just incredibly excited about this integration that we've built. We have some press releases going out, and I would encourage any of the firms out there interested to reach out to us, info@litify.com. I'm Terry at litify.com. Email me directly. I'm intimately involved with this integration. I really see it as driving a tremendous amount of value for our mutual clients. But we would love to engage and show you all, more of what we've built here, how it works, how clients are using it, more about the Litify platform, more about the Assure platform, more about Atlasware. Really, anything that we've discussed today, we're happy to drill into because we see this as a way to really, really provide, like we've been saying all along, value for your clients, speed, expediency, efficiency, growth, whatever really your objectives are. So, I know, Robert, any last thoughts from you?
No, just everybody stay safe, wash your hands, do the things that you need to do. I'm very excited about the prospects of the world getting back to a better normal. I have a family, and probably most everyone listening does, and I'm excited that we've gotten opportunities to be with them more. But I'm excited for things to return to normal. And so, just everybody be safe, and just be careful.
Yeah, just on that quickly, Robert, my wife said, this time together has been great. This trip or something you can go on and get the heck out of the house. So
there's a reason I'm in the office right now. My wife said
Exactly right. Robert, thank you so much again. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to working with you and your team more closely as we evolve here. And to our audience out there, be sure to comment, ask questions. If there's a particular topic you want to hear covered on Liticast, please let us know. If there's a guest you'd want to suggest, all that. But go to our website, go to YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever, any type of social vehicle, we're there. Find us and follow us, and please tell your friends. So thank you, everyone. We'll talk soon. This is another episode of Liticast, and we are done. Thanks again, Robert. Be good.
Thanks, everyone.